Well, I guess we're not going to have an opening this morning, Rick. But hey, again, second show. I am Tony Altieri. That is Riku Mukherjee. This is the 5 of 6 golf show. And Rick, it's getting ready to rain in Southern California. We don't get a lot of this, but it's like back-to-back weeks of rain. We don't know what to do around here.
Yeah, man. I got an email earlier today from I guess the California Dental Board, and they were like, "Oh, there's gonna be torrential downpours in California this week. Like, prepare your offices for potential damage." I'm like, "What the hell?" It's like
Yeah.
this is not. I didn't move to California for this.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like people around the country get real weather, and like we complain. It's like, oh, it's gonna rain tomorrow, and it's gonna be 50, and people are like, are you kidding me? Like, I'd kill for rainy and 50.
Yeah, that's true. We are gonna sneak in some golf this week, though, even if we're gonna get hit by rain. So we'll be all right.
Yeah. I mean, course conditions should be soft, scoring should be nice. Speaking of course conditions being soft and scoring being nice, fresh off the Century TOC, there is no joy in Mudville, Rick. Not for me. Like
No,
the
man.
Morikawa ticket, I was already like, I was gonna buy a bunch of stuff and like, 22-1, like. Me and everybody else was getting ready to cash that ticket, and we just watched him melt and get walked by John Rahm.
The funny thing is that I mean, this is golf betting, right? You had a Morikawa ticket and I had a Tom Hoagie ticket at 70-1, and they finished second and third, and we both lose. And I feel fine, and you feel absolutely awful. That's golf, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Tom Hoagie
it's just
had never had a chance of winning that tournament. Like, I didn't really think that ticket
yeah.
was ever gonna cash, but I think Morikawa was like minus I don't even know what he was. Like, what was he, like, minus 600 after Saturday or something like that? Like,
There was a point, I think, after the round kicked off where he was like negative 2,000, and it was like ridiculous. And again, through 9 holes on Sunday, it looked like he was going to walk away with this thing. And he bogeys 12, and then that stretch. I was telling somebody else the stat. 14, 15, and 16 played is the easiest 3 holes in the tournament. There were 9 bogeys all week on those holes, and Morikawa had 3 of them on Sunday. I mean, he just died, man.
Yeah, he choked. You don't expect that from top 10 player in the world, somebody with 2 majors under his belt, someone who's I've never seen do that before. Every time he's had a lead in a tournament, he's finished the job. He did that at the British Open. He did it at all the events that he's won in his career. But he flat out choked. He duffed a couple chips. He sculled a chip. He missed putts. He aeromailed greens. Like, it was pretty gross there for him. And you were talking about how he might not recover, or this may be some scar tissue or whatever for him. I don't think so. I mean, this guy's young. He's one of those guys that has a mental he has a mental coach since he was like 8 years old or something like that. So he'll be fine. I'm sure he'll be back in it probably for the Farmers in a few weeks, and he might even be playing in the American Express. I'm not sure, but he'll be fine. I'm not too worried about him.
Yeah, I think he stated in the post-round interview that he's planning the next tournament as the Farmers. He said he was going to hang out in Hawaii for a couple days and kind of just, I guess, unwind from the collapse that was Sunday. But I mean, to your point, he's one of the elite players in the world, and you just wonder, because those kinds of things, when they go down that way, like, and you get in those situations again, those things like creep around in your head. Like, you and I play golf, and it's like, you could be playing for money or just playing like you and I do, where it's like, hey, we're going stroke play and we're trying to see where we're at, or we'll make a bet on a hole. And it's like, just a little bit, just the mental side of it. You start thinking about things like, hey, don't hit it left, don't come up short, don't skull it. Like, all of these things start to creep in your head. And those aren't thoughts when you're playing well and things are going right, that they never even enter your perspective. So you're right. He's probably going to be fine. But next time we see him get into that situation, it'll be interesting to see how he reacts.
Yeah. The difference between Collin Morikawa and us is that he still gets a 7-figure check in his bank account today, and we don't. So he'll be fine. He finished second. He choked it away. Even the best players in the world we've seen choke away tournaments in the past. I give all the credit to John Rahm, man. This guy is simply phenomenal at that course. I will never, ever fade him on that course ever. Like, he's an auto play at that course, where he can just literally load up his driver, his most his strongest club in the bag, and just go bombs away. And then just his iron and putting was just on fire yesterday. And what did he shoot, 10 under yesterday? That's pretty sick round. So all the credit to him. He chased him down and, won the tournament. He probably deserved to, probably a little bit of karma because he deserved to probably win it last year when him and Cam Smith went shot for shot and Cam Smith edged him out. And this year he gets to make a comeback and get that trophy finally. So good for Rahm. No one that I know had a Rahm ticket. He was the favorite in the tournament. No one's really betting him at whatever he was, 8, 9, 10 to 1 or whatever. So we take our losses and we move on to the Sony Open, a tournament you have a full field, a cut, something that's more normal for things that we like when it comes to DFS and betting, and should be fun.
It is worth noting kind of the last little thing I'll throw out there about the Tournament of Champions. Between you and I's betting card, obviously neither of us had a Rahm because he was 6.5 to 1, and it's just not something that we're going to bet. But second place, you mentioned it, Morikawa. Third place, Hoagie. Fourth place, or I should say tied for third, Max Homa. Fifth place, Tom Kim. And then right behind them in sixth place, JJ Spawn and Tony Finau. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those guys on our betting cards for the week last week out of the top 6.
That's always fun, right? It's annoying because, I don't know what it is, but over the last year, I would say, the favorites and the chalk just keep coming through, and we're not cashing those tickets where, in the past, maybe, a couple years ago, those 20 to 30 to 1 winners, 50 to 1 winners, like we would cash those tickets. But something's happened in the last year where, these chalk guys that we avoid are just coming through, and they're just winning tournaments, and we're not getting to cash these tickets. We've had so many runner-up finishes over the last year. It's pretty ridiculous. And, our bankroll could have been a lot better if we hit those tickets, but it's all right, man. That's golf betting. It's pretty brutal. It's still fun though. It's nice enjoyment for 4 days, better than betting the Packers and losing it in 3 hours.
My God,
like I did last night. So it's still fun for 3 days. I had a pretty good DFS week. I lost a little bit in GPPs, but I won every single one of my cash games last week. Had a pretty solid lineup in my cash lineup, so I made some profit in DraftKings, so that was good. But this is a week where we got to get that 6 of 6, that cut sweat back on Friday.
Yep, we've got a full field event. Before we jump into it, I want to remind everybody to like, comment, and subscribe to the Nickel City Mafia channel. We've got tons of Bills content, tons of NFL content. Of course, me and Rick giving out second place finishers in golf every week. It's funny. I went back and looked in that stretch that we had. I want to say it was like the last 22 tournaments I went through and tallied. We had like 6 winners between you and I in that stretch. And we had 11 second place finishers as well. That's just brutal. That is totally brutal.
The process is good, but sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce our way, unfortunately. But hey, man, it's all good. Ravens and Bills both have playoff games this week. Bills are probably going to win. The Ravens are probably going to lose, and my football season will be over, so I can fully concentrate on golf moving forward after that.
Well, we've got a good one this week. You kind of alluded to it. First full field event of the year. We're still in Hawaii, but obviously this is a different location, a totally different course. Waialae, which is where the other game, or the other one, or excuse me, Kapalua, where it was played before. It's a big, wide open course. I mean, it's 7,400 yards. It's a par 73. I think it's the only par 73 on tour. In terms of the regular rotation, it's just a massive, wide open course where it's impossible to miss the fairways. And now here we go to the Sony, and it's a completely different layout. Even though we remain in Hawaii, this is narrow fairways, small greens. It's a short course. It's a par 70. It's 7,000 yards. So it really brings a lot of other guys into play that can win this week. But there are some trends and corollary stats. I think it's 8 of the 9 winners of this tournament have played in the Tournament of Champions the week before. I think about it, it's typically, the better guys, the guys who play in the Tournament of Champions, they won an event the previous year. So you're really getting a very good group of guys that are transitioning over. There are 17 of those guys that will be playing this week. And then, of course, the other thing is just being there and acclimating and playing in a tournament, right? Tiger Woods has always said it's impossible to replicate like tournament golf, and having a tournament under your belt is a big difference. This is the second tournament for those 17 guys, but you've got 123 guys who are making their tournament start this week. And it's a pretty good field right off the top. Rick, our boy Tom Kim is the top of the DraftKings board at 10-5. You can see here the names that are there, and it kind of correlates with the betting board. You and I were talking about this off air right before we started. Kim, M, Matsuyama, Spieth, Henley, Harmon, Connors, Horschel, Bradley, they all played last week.
Yep.
Coincidentally, top of the betting board and the highest price guys in DraftKings. I know we're early on a Monday, but we always like to kind of figure out where ownership is pooling and where people will play. For me, I can't think of a reason why Tom Kim will not win this week. I think of all the things that he does well. This course sets up perfectly. He's not the longest hitter. This course, I wouldn't say puts a premium, but being accurate off the tee is a huge benefit this week. And he's just been on fire. And it really, the two events where he has gained strokes putting, he's won. It's like if he gains strokes putting, he's going to win because he's so solid tee to green. I just don't know how you can fade him other than just saying ownership, but that didn't pay off last week. The chalk hit. Hoagie, Rahm, all of those guys were chalk last week, and that's what hit. And so my assumption is Tom Kim's going to be chalk. Can you not play him?
It's a tough decision. I think it's pretty similar to last week where we knew that Rahm was going to be pretty overwhelming chalk up top. And it's either one of those situations where you got to probably fade him completely or lock him into your lineups, like go way overweight on him. I mean, I don't have ownership right now, but I can't see him not being the highest owned in the 10K range. I'm pretty sure between those four guys, it's going to be him and M are going to be the two highest owned. And then, Hideki and Jordan are both going to be, pivots off of those two guys. I like both of those guys. I like Kim and M in the situation. Hideki obviously broke our hearts last year. We both had Russell Henley tickets, which was pretty devastating.
Hawaii's just not been good to us, dude. Like 2 years in a row, Hawaii's just a massive kick in the nuts.
2 years in a row. Well, I mean, I had Cam Smith last year, so I can't.
Oh, that's right. No, we both had Cam Smith in the first one. Yeah, that is true. Last year, the very first event, we both did have Cam Smith.
But this tournament did break our hearts last year because we both had Henley tickets.
Yep.
So, Hideki being the defending champ is why he gets this 10-1 price, I think. I don't think he deserves to be 10-1 at the moment. No. He is not playing $10,100 golf, in my opinion. I think Jordan should be higher priced than him, honestly. So, Hideki, I can't pay that price for him. I'd rather find the money to go up to M or Kim or just fade this. If I'm going to do anything, I'm probably just going to fade this range completely and maybe start with the 9K range. But yeah, man, out of these four guys, Sungjae's played this tournament the last 4 years. So has Hideki. Hideki has a better track record here, but I'd rather go to Sungjae just because of current form. Jordan hasn't played this course since 2019. So he's seen the course a couple times, but not the greatest track. He missed the cut last time he was here, but he's been playing decent golf. He played okay last week. He had a 13th place finish at the Tournament of Champions. So I don't know if I can pay 10K for Jordan either. I think I would rather just drop down to the 9K range. So for me, in the 10K range, it's just Kim and M. Or just completely faded in your lineups, in my opinion. I think you can either potentially start Kim and M if you wanted to. The pricing is pretty soft this week. 10-5 and 10-3 are both pretty good prices for both of them. So I would say you can either start your lineup with either one of those, both of those, or none of those, and then start at the 9K range. I'll let you talk about the 9K range because I definitely have some takes here. So you can go first.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The guys that are at the top of the 9K range, I think potentially you could make a case for all four of those guys, Hoagie, Henley, Harmon, Connors, to be chalky. So I think because of that, you're going to see ownership a little more flat than it should be. It seems like a lot of people, like Harmon's gaining so much steam. Everybody's talking about Connors. Those two guys will probably be the most popular. Now that we know Hoagie's not sticking around to celebrate with the TCU team after the game, he's probably on the chartered flight back to Hawaii already.
He's probably in the air already.
Yeah. So, any concerns that anybody had about him, getting back late or being hungover or anything like that, like you can throw that out the window. Yeah. So, it's interesting because gut and performance makes you think that those 4 guys should be super chalky, but you can't play all 4 of those guys in lineups.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's going to suppress some of it. Harman is probably the guy that's going to end up catching the most steam, which means, Horschel and Keegan and Mav and maybe even Taylor Montgomery, who you and I were talking before this, is probably the best, I don't know, non-winner in this tournament. Yeah. The 9K is super, super interesting. So I'm curious to see where the ownership pools besides Harman. If that's the case, if we get a 20 to 25% Brian Harman, like that's an easy fade for me. I can't stand him anyways, even though all of the metrics, everything he's done up until this point, he has played very, very well. I mean, even up into last week, to finish top 20 in one of the best fields, that's still very, very good. But I like Connors probably the best just based off of his track record. If you look at what he's done at this event, it's the only event where he has gained consistently on the greens putting. Mm-hmm. He just has not done that anywhere else. Yep. So the fact that, that seems to be a place where he's very, very comfortable putting. I like Connors a lot this week. My betting card will probably start with Corey Connors. And then I do have interest in Keegan and Horschel. Nobody likes to play Billy Horschel. Keegan's probably a forgotten man sandwiched in there between, McNeely, Montgomery, and then Connors and Harman. So as ownership kind of builds, I'll kind of figure it out. But Connors is probably my favorite play. Hoagie is my third favorite. And then I love Taylor Montgomery down at, flat 9.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Especially on Corey Connors. I think he's definitely my favorite play in this 9K range. He has very, very good course history, better course history than than Brian Harman right above him. Over the last, 4 years, he's had nothing but like top 15 finishes here. Like you said, this is one of the courses where he actually gains on the greens. It's just maybe he just reads these greens better than other places. Yep. I just don't know what it is, but any place where Corey Connors is going to gain strokes putting, I am going to lock him into my lineups, and he's my favorite play for sure in this range. I don't think I can go back to Tom Hoagie. He was a staple in my lineups last week. He was my cash game, he was the last man in my cash game lineup. But him going from, what was he last week? Like 6,700, 6,500?
Yeah, 67 and 99.
9,900. I mean, I get that the field is a lot weaker, and I get that he probably deserves this price, but I don't think I can pay the 9.9 for him right now, especially with the whole.
It's a good point.
Yeah, especially with the whole traveling from Hawaii to LA to back to Hawaii like tonight. I know these guys travel all the time, and it's just a quick flight from California to Hawaii, but he's still a little bit of time difference and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't think I can go back to Hoagie. So I'm definitely going to play Harman and Connors. I mean, I can't not play those two. They're number 1 and 2 overall in your model. I love Harman. I loved him last week. I think he's pretty solid course fit here. And I'll be completely honest with you, man. I think the next guy for me here is going to be Taylor Montgomery. He's a different name that, people that are coming back into the golf atmosphere are that didn't play swing season golf or whatever. They're going to see this guy, Taylor Montgomery, who's a rookie, that they've never seen his name before, especially in the $9,000 range. And they're not going to click it. They have no idea who he is. And little do they know, he's well deserving of this price. He could easily, be in the 10K range next week. We don't know, but he deserves this price. He's one of the best players right now. He was on fire during the swing season, and I'm just gonna ride him, man. I think this is one of those situations like we had with Scheffler, where he was close, and then eventually the floodgates are gonna open. He's gonna win a bunch of tournaments, and then everyone's gonna know who Taylor Montgomery is. So I love him. I love this price. If I was going to fade the entire 10K range, I can see my lineup starting Harman, Connors, Montgomery, and then just dropping down to the 7K range. I never play Billy Horschel. I don't mind Keegan. He had his ups and downs last week, but yeah, he has pretty good course history here. 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5 cuts made. Billy Horschel, he played so bad for a couple rounds last week, but then he got it together on the weekend. I don't know. I can't really go to him. I think Matt McNeely is a little overpriced too. So for me, it's just going to be Harman, Connors, Montgomery. possibly a little Henley. I don't know. I know this course suits Henley really well. I know he's been playing good golf, and I know he has good history here, but 9-8's a little steep. He didn't play that great last week, so I don't know. For me, it's easy 3 for me here, and then the rest is just a kind of whatever for me.
Yeah, I'm in 100% with you on Connors and Montgomery. Those two guys I think are lock and load for me. And the other guys, it's really going to come down to ownership. I really feel like there's not a lot separating, Keegan, McNeely, Horschel, Harmon, Henley, Hoagie. Like, so if one of those guys ends up being massively underowned, which I think it's going to end up being Billy Horschel or potentially Henley, just because he gets squeezed out because of price. If one of those guys ends up being so much like half of the ownership of the other guys, I'll end up pivoting and going there because I do think all of them are live for this. I know I was on Keegan last week and he was terrible, but to your point, he's got good course history. Surprisingly enough, just looking at the stats, like in my model, Montgomery rates really high, and it's mainly because of his birdie or better. And then, of course, the other big stat that I weighted was putting from 5 to 10 feet this week. I figure, you're going to have to sink some putts and make some birdies, and that's a key range for birdie putts. So, Montgomery ranks out number 1 in that range for putting. He's inside the top 15 in par 5 scoring. And then, of course, like I mentioned, number 1 in birdies or better in this field. So I do love Montgomery this week. If anybody's going to break the 8 for 9 streak for guys who played in the TOC, I feel like it's probably Taylor Montgomery this week, just based off of everything is done. And I love the corollary that you gave to Scotty Scheffler, right? He's Scotty Scheffler before Scotty Scheffler was Scotty Scheffler. So I love that there. But yeah, I subscribe to everything that you mentioned there in the 9Ks, and I think it may be a good move to fade the top of the board. Like I said, Tom Kim, much like John Rahm last week, the course just sets up perfect.
I get that, and I get what you're saying with that, but Tom Kim's also not John Rahm. Like he's not one of those guys that.
That's why he's double the odds, though. John Rahm was last week.
Yeah, I mean, if you replace Tom Kim's name with John Rahm here, like if it's just no Tom Kim and just John Rahm at 10-5, like you could actually say, yes, John Rahm can come out and win this tournament by 5 strokes. You can't really say that with Tom Kim. Like you can't say like if he misses the cut at 10-5, it'd be a little shocking. Yeah, but like he's also a rookie on the PGA, or like he's barely a rookie. Yeah, he's like a year in the PGA Tour. Like if he misses the cut here, like we're not the most shocked in the world at 10-5. So I get it. I get the love. He's never played this course before. He has no course history, but I get it. I mean, the course does seem like it's a perfect fit for him. But if you're a little weary of him, like if you're not a little scared to pay the 10-5 price, you do have a veteran right there, 10-3 with Sung J M, who's played this course 5 years in a row, 4 years in a row with decent history. So I wouldn't mind pivoting down from Kim to M if you depending on kind of how ownership comes out there. But yeah, that's my take on that. But then again, if Tom Kim comes out and wins his third event, I'm not going to be shocked either. So he has a pretty wide range of possibilities here with him, and I guess that's what you're looking for with golf. So that's what it is.
Dropping down into 8Ks, much smaller field here, but again, we see some familiar names from last week: KH Lee and Adam Scott right at the top of the board, 87 and 8,600. Interesting enough, we've got some guys that we haven't seen. Cam Davis making his debut. Putnam, who was super hot at the end of last year, he's at 8,000. Grillo at 8K. Who do you like in the 8,000s? And did I make a mistake? Is there anybody at 88 or 89?
That's what I was wondering. There's no one at 88 or 8,900 this week, which is really weird. It's kind of strange with the pricing. So, yeah, we kick it off with KH Lee at 8,700 there. I'm probably, this is probably the area of the field where I'm, maybe not going to lean on guys that played last week with KH Lee, Adam Scott, JJ Spawn. Like, I don't think I can really feeling those guys this week. Cam Davis, that's my guy here. I think he's going to be my favorite play in this range for sure. He'll definitely be my highest owned guy in this range. I also like Keith Mitchell at 8,300. I think he suits well for this course. He plays this tournament every year. 7th place finish last year, 14th the year before that. So good course history for him. Griot, I know you're a Griot guy. I'm not really a Griot guy, but the guy was really on fire like during the swing season, playing well. He plays this course every year also. So I'm a little iffy about Griot, but for me, it's Cam Davis, it's Keith Mitchell, and then after that, possibly a little Griot. I don't really have a feeling for Siwoo or Bez here, but I think I'm going to go ahead and fade KH Lee, Adam Scott, and JJ Spawn for sure here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on Keith Mitchell. I think, I don't think this range is going to be very heavily owned just because of the popularity of the 9Ks, and I think people are going to play Tom Kim. They're just going to do it. So that naturally makes people skip down out of the 8Ks and go right to the 7,000s. So, there's obviously some pivot opportunity here, but I do think Keith Mitchell's probably going to end up being the most heavily owned guy, just looking at his course history here. And then, of course, kind of how he got things together. I think he had a top 10 finish in Houston. So, I'm there with you on Mitchell. Cam Davis, like, me, dude. I'm a Cam Davis truther. I'm a big fan of his. Ball striking is unbelievable. He's got a very good track record here. Statistically rates out very, very well, which is why he ranks so high in the model when looking at all of those things. I mean, he's fantastic. He breaks everything. So both of those guys, I think, will end up being owned. I think the only guy that I'm going to be different from you on is I'm going to go back to JJ Spawn. He looked so good at the Tournament of Champions. I know he didn't have the best Sunday finish, but he looked so comfortable for, 54 holes at least. So I could see maybe going back to a little bit of JJ Spawn if
I think he'll definitely be low owned because people are going to see 3 straight missed cuts here over the last 3 years, and they're going to be scared off of that. So, if you have a feeling for him, I mean, if he can back up his performance, then that $8,400 price tag is a steal, to be honest with you. But I just don't think I can pay $8,400 for a JJ Spawn that's missed 3 straight cuts here. I think it's an easy fade for me. I'd rather go to Cam Davis right above him or Keith Mitchell right below him. But yeah, I see what you're saying. He's definitely going to be low owned, I think, in this range.
Yeah, no, the ownership piece, and then the other thing I looked at, we kind of talked a little bit about off air, just like the corollary courses, right? So both Mayakoba and RSM are both considered quote unquote corollary courses, similar setups. We see similar leaderboards. The guys do well at all 3 tracks, and he's got top 15 finishes at those here within the last 3 months. So I like that. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the top 5 at the Tournament of Champions in a very elite field. So I'm willing to roll the dice on JJ Spawn if my lineup construction ends up there. But and I also think he's a good pivot off of Davis and Mitchell, who I think will be the most heavily owned guys. Any feel for Putnam down there at 8K?
I was just about to ask you about Putnam. I like him, man. I mean, he was playing really well during the swing season. I was playing him like every week in DraftKings, and he does have decent history. He had a runner-up finish here a few years ago, 27th place last year. 4 out of 5 made cuts. I don't mind it. What do you think about Putnam? I think I can sprinkle him into my lineups for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think more people will end up going to Grillo than Putnam, just because they're used to seeing Grillo. Like the people who follow DFS, they know, hey, like Grillo is just a ball striking machine. The big thing for me with Putnam is, when he made his run last year, I mean, what we saw is the ball striking was amazing. He's never been a great off the tee guy, but this course isn't going to demand that you're just a beast off the tee. It has one of the highest greens and regulations of any of the courses on tour, which means you can get on the green from the rough. It's not very penal. But with that being said, his approach game's fantastic. He's very good from the key distances, like proximity from 150 and 175. And then putting. He's just one of those guys that consistently gains putting. And like we talked about, this is kind of the putting contest. If you can find your way onto the green and you get a hot putter, like anyone can win this week. And that feels kind of like Andrew Putnam. And the ownership piece for me, like I just feel like people are not going to play him this week. So Putnam's another guy that'll definitely have my eye on as kind of the week kind of progresses and we see ownership mature over time. But I like Putnam. I like him better than Grillo. I like him better than Seabez. I can't get there with Seabez. I've never been there. So and Siwoo, just the range of outcomes there are way too varied for me to risk playing him at $8,200 when we're used to seeing him at like 74.
Yeah, I completely agree. Siwoo is interesting. Like he could win this tournament, and
dude, no, you're absolutely right. Like we've seen him like compete at places like Colonial and Wyndham and those places that are again comp courses here. And you're right. Like he comes out of nowhere and competes to win tournaments. He's just got that level of skill. So
I think I'd rather take the a little bit more safer route with Mitchell or Putnam or Griot, but below him. But he definitely does have that range of outcomes of DFL or first place for sure.
100%. We're getting back into these full fields. We've got 140 guys in this one. And so we're getting massive 7K and 6K ranges. So a lot of guys to talk through here, a bunch of guys making their debut. But like off the jump, for me, Poston is the guy that I watched him last week. He didn't do anything phenomenal, but he kind of had spurts where he played well. But again, wedges, putter, it makes me think JT Poston. My boy Gary Woodland, he's back again. And, hey, he had a 9th place finish at Houston, which was kind of nice. He's had a top 10 here in the history. He's also had a pretty terrible missed cut. So nothing really amazing to write home about. Webb Simpson, I mean, dude, every one of the corollary courses, I think Webb has won an event at. The only one would be this one that he hasn't won yet. Yeah. Obviously, he's not been the same guy for the last 12 months that he was previously. So I don't really know what to do. Patton Kizzire, I mean, this is just one of the courses where he always shows up. So a lot of names here. I mean, what are you thinking?
So I definitely like the JT Poston call. He definitely played, pretty decently last week. He was in my showdown lineup, I think on Saturday, and he played pretty well. I like the what did you say? Who did you say? You said who did you say up here? I forgot.
I said the other. I went to Poston. I mentioned Gary Woodland. I also talked about Webb Simpson was the other one that has success.
Yeah, Webb Simpson with like 3 top 5 finishes here out of the last 5 years. I don't think I can get there. I need to see it from Webb first, but I think I'll go to the guys that played last week: Poston, Svensson, Hughes. I like those names from guys that played last week. Harris English has decent history here. He's been playing all right, but I don't think I can really get there with him. Denny McCarthy is an interesting name up here at 7,900. I mean, I know he, he played decently in the swing season, made the cut here last year, so I don't mind him. Ben Griffin, I was playing him like every week during the swing season. I like that at 7,300. He was playing really well. Nothing but like top 30 finishes. He had a 3rd place finish there in the swing season also. Chris Kirk, I like here, 7,400, pretty decent history here. He had a runner-up finish here a couple of years ago. I'll go back to Brendan Steele. I know he missed the cut here last year, but 2 top 5 finishes the 2 years before that. He hasn't played in a little while, but he was playing well towards the end of the year last year. So I'll give him another crack at it here. Let me see here. A couple other names. I know Hayden Buckley is going to be pretty popular. He finished 12th here. He finished 12th here last year, so he's going to be probably a chalky name down here. So I don't think I can really go to him. I think I'd rather go down to the guys that played last week, like Svensson or Hughes. Besides that, Ryan Palmer, 7,100, pretty good history here. He has a 12th place finish here last year. 4th place a couple years before that. Maybe Lucas Glover. He had a 5th place finish here last year. I'm not really too much into Lucas Glover nowadays. Steven Yeager is a name that I was playing during the swing season, playing decent golf, but I don't know where his form's at right now. I think that's it. I think my favorite players here are gonna be the guys that played last week: Poston, Svensson, Hughes, and then I think I'm gonna sprinkle in some Griffin, some Chris Kirk. I don't think I can get there with Gary Woodland or Webb Simpson. I think I gotta wait a little bit and see like where their form's at before I get into any of that. But I think my favorite play here is gonna be JT Poston for sure.
So a couple names, a couple of them you mentioned I want to throw out at you, but I'm just curious. So Alex Smalley, he had basically 3 top 10 finishes in the swing season coming into this. He's never played this event before, but he's 7,800 sandwiched between English and McCarthy.
I like it. I like that. I didn't even see his name. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, Smalley I like a lot, and I think a lot of people are just going to glaze over him because it's like, who the hell's Alex Smalley? Svensson, who you mentioned, I do like him a lot as well too. And then the 2 guys, you touched on one of them, but they both had very good swing seasons. That'd be Ben Griffin, and then right below him, Grayson Sigg, both at $7,300. Again, I know we're talking about swing season events, but I would make the argument that this event is more like a swing season event than it is, the Farmers or, the Genesis or any of these other events where you're getting stellar fields. And these young guys that are kind of peppered in with names that people know, like Webb Simpson and, Gary Woodland and guys like Matt Kuchar. Like, I feel like those are good pivot plays, and they've shown that they can compete in these styles of fields. So I like those four guys: Sig, Griffin, Svensson, and Smalley. And it sounds like you're on the same page with at least three of them, maybe sans Grayson Sig.
No, I like Grayson Sig. I don't mind that. He played well during the swing season. I can definitely go back to him. I like all those calls. Why is Russell Knox 5th overall in your model, man? I don't get that.
Yeah, so he had, again, 4 straight made cuts. So in the swing season, so that's the part of it. First part of it. Second part of it is his course history is actually pretty good here. The last 5 years, he's got 2 top 10s. He's got 4 out of 5 made cuts here, and then statistically, he rates out pretty good. He's let's see, on the stats model, he's 20th overall in the stats column, like the key stats, which are, I have like approach, good drives, opportunities gained, proximity from 150, 175, birdies are better, strokes gained par 5, and putting 5 to 10 feet. So with those as my corollary stats for this, he rates out real well. And the last piece is the corollary courses, right? Wyndham, Mayakoba, RSM, like those courses, he's done well at as well too. So for some reason,
you think you can click that name? It's tough for me to click Russell Knox.
Yeah, you know what, man, $7,200. Like I just mentioned, Ben Griffin, Sig, Patton Kizzire, Steele. Like I like all 4 of those guys more than him, even though my statistical model likes Russell Knox better than all of them. Like he rates out better. I guess for me, what it'll come down to is, if the ownership is not there, maybe I'll just hold my nose and take a shot on Russell Knox and, skip over Kizzire, Steele, or Sig and just throw him in, half the lineups if nobody's playing Russell Knox.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think that's not a bad sprinkle if you're going to sprinkle somebody. What about Ches at the flat side? He played last week. I know he didn't play well, but
he finished DFL last week.
Did he finish DFL last week?
I think he did. I think he finished like T35, which I think was dead last. Other than Xander, who withdrew, obviously. Okay. I mean, the guy's made 3 out of 4 cuts at this event. We talked about the fact that you don't need to be long. Accuracy is a benefit. He's fairly accurate. It's funny because, we were laughing about it. Everybody else got the boost this week in pricing. So it was like, Ches got no boost. Like he's still $7,000. Like I think he was like 63 last week. So I like the call. SH Kim right above him. I think people are going to remember he had a pretty decent finish last year. He didn't finish great in the swing season, but he popped on some leaderboards. And then I think a lot of people are going to play Ryan Armour. So I think it's a good pivot play if you can find the $100 to go up to Ches, because honestly, and this is just a legitimate statement. I love Ryan Armour, but what the hell's the difference between Ryan Armour and Ches Reavie?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. If Ryan Armour's 15% owned and Ches is 2%, I'll just take Ches Reavie and hold my nose.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the dumpster.
Yes, speaking of the dumpster and holding our nose, there are a ton of guys down here this week, even more so than the 7Ks. I'm just going to throw out some names that I kind of want to see, and I think I may throw into lineups if I end up going down here. And again, if I'm going to play a 10K guy and a 9K guy, I'll probably have to go down into the 6Ks. But Carl Wan, which is the guy you brought to us months ago, I think he's in here as Yichuen Wan, that's his name, but he's 23 in the model, had a pretty good swing season, couple top 40 finishes. Right below him, Ben Taylor. I was getting Ben Taylor and Ben Griffin mixed up for a while, but Ben Taylor made 4 cuts during the swing season as well, too.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So I like Ben Taylor right below Carl Wan. Your boy QAnon, Scott Piercy, showed life in the swing season, and he's played this event a couple times, made 3 out of 4 cuts. So no one's going to own Scott Piercy. Him, Ryan Palmer, and Horschel, they're just dicks, and nobody wants to play him. So you can always get them at low ownership. So I think those are solid. Nick Taylor's got a good track record here. He might be a little bit steep at $6,700 for me, but the other guy that I like above 65, and it's just because of what he's done at this course, is Michael Thompson. Thompson at at $6,700, I feel like he's basically Brendan Todd, but you're getting him for, $700 to $1,000 less than Brendan Todd. So those would kind of be the names that I'm circling on above 6,500. Who do you like above 65?
I like let's see, Kevin Yu, 6,700. He played pretty well during the swing season, along with Ben Griffin and Ben Taylor. Those are some names that I was clicking on during the swing season. This guy at 6,900, you probably don't know him. His name is Kazuki Higa. He was like the #1 amateur in the world, so he was like Tom Kim before Tom Kim. So he's getting his first start here. I guess because he's a Japanese professional or whatever. So he's somebody that that no one's going to own, that has a good pedigree. He's won a few times on the Asian tour, so definitely wouldn't mind maybe sprinkling him as a dart. I like the Nick Taylor and Michael Thompson calls. I definitely like Michael Thompson a little bit more. He's played here 4 out of the last 5 cuts made. He had a 5th place finish here last year. I'll go back to some Benny On at 6,700. I think this is a good course for him. He's doesn't look like he's ever played this course, but he does have his game does, I think, suit well for this course. Cheston Hadley, he's a couple miscuts here. I don't really know if I can go to him, but not many other names, man. Matty Schmid, 6,800. I remember clicking his name a couple times during the offseason. But if you want to go to like the normal guys that we click down here, it would be names like Sink or Schenk or Ryder or Bramlett. Like those are like the classic like veterans on tour that we know can make a cut. So I think those would be the kind of Austin Cook. Like these are the names that I'd be more inclined to click on than guys just taking a shot. But yeah, I mean, below 6,500, I don't really got anybody either, man. This is kind of a really gross range. Chad Ramey did play last week at 6,300.
He did.
He played in the TOC last week, which is outstanding. I think he got a price decrease this week, so that tells you what you need to know about Chad Ramey. Peter Malnati was a name I was clicking on a lot last year. Ryan Moore, I know that's your boy. I don't really like him, but maybe Ryan Brem is down here. He played last week. So
he did, yeah. Him and Ches came in 35th place. I was wrong. Chad Ramey came in DFL at 38th place.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know, man. You got any other names you want to sell me on here? I don't really.
I mean, dude, you want to talk about blasts from the past? Kyle Stanley, $6,100. He's made
deservedly so. He deserves to be 61.
He's made 3 out of 5 cuts at this tournament, and again, the ball striking, despite the fact that I don't know how he has progressively gotten worse putting, but he has. But the ball striking continues to be pretty damn good for a guy that has not made a cut in a very long time. So, that's something to at least, I guess, hang your hat on if you're going to take some shots. Yeah. Another guy here who had a pretty good swing season is Eric Cole. He came in, I think he had 2 top 40s and a top 30 in the swing season. So 3 made cuts. Statistically rates out fairly solid. Let me pull up Eric Cole in Fantasy National and see if I can get us a little more information on him, because it's not a name that I would ever click on or even think about, but statistically he rated out really well. So what has Mr. Eric Cole been doing over the swing? Oh, dude, he's a putting maven. Putting. But so Mayakoba, he finished 27th, and Mayakoba is a corollary course. Houston, ball striking numbers were good. He lost off the tee, but gained everywhere else. RSM, he lost 5 strokes off the tee, but gained basically everywhere else, lost 0.9 putting. So it looks like he's been putting very, very well over the stretch. He's made 3 cuts in a row. Off the tee is definitely not his specialty, but like we mentioned, like this is not – off the tee is probably mitigated here. So I guess if you got to grab a guy below 6,500, you could do worse than Eric Cole. But I don't know. He played well in swing. And so, like I said, maybe that's something you can go to. Brian Stroud, I mean, this is a Stroud course, 3 out of 4 made cuts, couple of top 10 finishes in that stretch. He just hits the ball straight. It's not very far. I think he's the shortest driver on tour. So Brian Stroud at 6,300 is another guy to kind of throw into the mix.
I got to throw a name out here.
Brian Stewart.
Yeah, Brian Stewart. I gotta throw a name out here real quick. Austin Smotherman at 6,300. What is he doing at 6,300? Usually he's like low 7Ks or like high 6Ks or something like that.
The
That seems like
Smother Man, yeah, he usually is, but I know he's missed a lot of cuts like
has
recently. I
he?
want to say he's missed like 3 or 4 in a row. Let's take a
Let me
look at Smother
see.
Man.
Let's see what he's been doing. I feel like that's a little bit of a misprice. So he's missed 2 cuts, and then he had a 23rd before that. He missed the cut here last year. I don't know. I think I mean that's a name I've definitely clicked on
Yeah,
my DFS lineups before. And he's
Smotherman
been
is one of those guys who's been usually pretty good. Like if you look like over his last 5, his last 10, his last 20, he's gaining on approach and off the tee. So he's like ball striking guy. But you know, the putter looks like it, and the around the green game, like the short game has just been terrible. So the around the green piece, like that's mitigated here because if you're missing greens, you're done anyways.
yeah.
But putting wise, that I guess that would be the only concern is, you know, he's squarely on team no putt. I mean, 5, 10, 20 last 70 rounds, he just has been losing putting. So that's the only thing with him. But yeah, you're right. He's a name that we've absolutely played in lineups multiple times. So, you know, familiarity there with the Smother Man. So that seems like it's a bit low for him. Even Gligic right above him was a guy for a while that was making a run until he wasn't anymore. Austin Eckroat right above there's another name from the swing season that a lot of people were playing.
What about Kramer Hickok? 6,300. He had the 20th and the 19th. 3 straight made cuts here. I know he's missed 5 straight cuts on the tour, but not the worst name to click on at 6,300.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather. I mean, I don't know. I Kramer Hickok, ever since like he had that duel with Harris English, like where they went like 9 playoff holes, like I feel like he exhausted any good karma he had on the golf course in that deal. So
Yeah,
I think he's pretty much done. But
I guess you're right.
Team Dunk's down at 6,200. Wow,
Yeah, man.
Some of these
names are just popping out at me. What about
major champion Jimmy Walker down there, 6,100?
Get him out of here. That guy hates me. He always talks shit to me on the internet, so I don't like him.
The fact that you get a response from though, I think is dude,
really like I send him the worst crap because he's such like a MAGA Trumper or whatever, and I always like talk shit to him, and he always responds to me, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I don't really care.
I do think it's funny that you get a rise from him. Like you would think he'd be above that, but obviously he's not.
He's not. David Lingmerth, what has he been up to? He's 32nd in your model.
Where's Lingmerth? I didn't even see him on my list here.
He's
okay.
He's a little bit higher, 6,700.
Dude, he had a good swing season. I mean, basically 3 top 10s. Let's see. What is old David, not of this world, Lingmerth doing? Yeah. Let's see here. Hold on. David Lingmerth, 6,700.
Maybe a nice little pivot from Taylor or Thompson.
Yeah, your boy QAnon, Scott Piercy. He's right there at that same price too. Okay, so it looks like, man, it has been all putting. He gained 6.7 at RSM. He lost 1.2 in Houston when he missed the cut. We don't have any strokes gained data from Mayakoba, but that's a corollary course. He finished top 10 there. Bermuda, no strokes gained data, but he finished 11th there. And then basically before that, miscut. And he didn't gain on approach or off the tee in any of those events. It's mainly been the putter. That's where he's been making his hay, which this is kind of a putting contest.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I can click that name. I think I'd rather take a shot with somebody like Matty Schmid or you know, one of the young guys that like Ben Taylor or somebody like that. Yeah, I don't really have anyone else on here. Maybe if we're gonna go right back up to the top of the $6,000 range and say like Stuart Sink, who has decent history.
I like
here.
Sink this week.
I don't mind playing that. But yeah, I don't really have many other guys. MJ Duffy's made 5 straight cuts on tour. That's not bad. What is he? 6,800. Matthias Duffy or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I think I like Schmid just from the pure upside, but Duffy's played this course before too, so you could make a case to say that he's there. I mean, I like Kevin Yu, who's in here as Chunan Yu. I like him a lot better right below him at 6,700. And then Armour, who, like I mentioned, is probably going to be the most heavily owned guy. I love pivots to Bramlett and Sink at that same price point. Bramlett's a guy, he popped, I think it was at Houston, and then he's got pretty good course history here. He's played this course twice before. So I like Bramlett there at the top as well, too. But I think there are viable options. We hit on a bunch of them. Ben Martin, who else did we throw out here just to recap for the people? Your boy Smotherman, he's here. Piercy, Ben Taylor, Carl Yoon, all of those names I think are viable options here. Even Scott Piercy, like we mentioned, pretty good swing season, 2 out of 4 cuts, and then he's played this tournament very, very well as well. So
if you're gonna start your lineup, Kim and Im, you're gonna have to probably drop down to this range. So I would, if you're gonna start Kim and Im, it'd probably be a good idea to like take the safe options like a Sink or like an Armor or somebody like that. But if you want to get a little crazy, you can throw a little Ben Taylor in there. You can throw a little Kevin Yu in there and have a pretty nice lineup. If you go Kim, Im, and Yu, you got a nice little Asian lineup there, and you can probably fit a couple other Asian guys in there. Go the all Asian lineup and be all right. All right, last guy. I know we beat the 6K range to death here, but we gotta talk about this one last guy. He plays here every single year. Literally tears it up on the senior tour at 6,200. Jerry Kelly. Any love for Jerry Kelly?
No.
Okay. He's just a guy. He does pretty well here, year in, year out. I know he plays this tournament every single year, but the guy literally he wins consistently on the senior tour. He's a good golfer, man. But at 6,200, I think there's better options. You can rather play Austin Smotherman than Jerry Kelly.
Yeah, I like Cole right above him better. We mentioned him, and then even Ramey. I mean, Ramey played last week in the Tournament of Champions. He's $6,300. So I like both of those guys better than old man Jerry Kelly.
Yeah, Jerry Kelly's the same price as Ryan Brehm, who won a tournament on PGA Tour last year.
Remember when Harry Hall was a thing? Like people were talking about Harry Hall, and
that guy mashes the ball. He hits the ball so far.
Yes, he does. He absolutely
doesn't hit. He just doesn't hit it straight, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is a problem. Yeah. Believe me, I can hit the ball pretty far. I just have no idea where it's going.
All right, let's. We beat this range to death. Let's just quickly talk about some bets and get out of here.
Yep. So I haven't finalized my card. I'll do that in the Discord. But like I mentioned to you, Connors is a must for me this week. I do like Hoagie as well too with Bradley. So I like Keegan Bradley. I like all 3 of those guys. I'll be playing the TOC narrative. The guys who played in the Century last week. Those are the guys who probably will exclusively be on my card. The only exception to that will probably be Taylor Montgomery. So Corey Connors at 22. Tom Hoagie at 25, Keegan Bradley at 33, Taylor Montgomery at 35, dropping down a bit. I like Svensson at 70. And there was one other name in that range that I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, JT Poston at 55. So those are the 5 guys that I'm kind of circling on this week. Svensson, Poston, Keegan, Montgomery, Connors, and Hoagie.
Okay. Yeah, same here. Minus Hoagie, I think I'm going to roll with Brian Harman, Corey Connors. Definitely going to start my card off with those 2, and then probably go to Taylor Montgomery, Poston, Svensson, like those guys. Any names that I'm going to click beyond that are probably going to be guys that played last week. If I was going to click on names that didn't play last week, I don't know yet. We'll put our final betting cards on Discord or whatever, but it would be names like young guys like Grayson Sigg or one of these guys, Kevin Yu, like one of these young guys that can maybe come out of nowhere and win a tournament. So, Brendan Steele, I don't mind at 80-1. I think that's a pretty decent number on somebody who has almost won this tournament before and had 2 top 5 finishes. So, I don't mind these numbers. But my card is definitely going to be focused heavily at the top on Harman, Connors, and Montgomery for sure.
The only other 2 guys that I'm going to give some consideration to, I'm going to see kind of where the lines go, and both of these guys did not play in the Century Tournament of Champions, but I'll give them some consideration, would be Cam Davis and Keith Mitchell right there at 35. Yeah. Those are both good numbers. Mm-hmm. Cam Davis's is obviously a little bit better than Keith Mitchell's, but in terms of like where we're used to typically seeing him. So I'll keep an eye on those 2 guys. And if I can get them close to like a 45 or a 50, I may jump in on one of those guys as well too.
Cool. All righty, man. Looks like we're gonna wrap it up under an hour. We
I
did
know
it.
it's 2 weeks in a row, man. That's fantastic. I love these early because typically we're like 9 o'clock midnight Eastern
Yeah.
trying to do this. So I like the early hour. We're gonna get out and play some golf this week. Hopefully, if the weather permits it and it's not
Yeah.
pouring rain. But
I think it's supposed to rain tonight and tomorrow, but I think Wednesday should be good. I mean, we might have a little car path only situation, but we can get some golf in on Wednesday. I don't think it's going to rain on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I remind everybody, join the Discord. We'll put it in the comments here of the video. So if you're watching this after the fact or if you're live, doesn't matter. You can click join the Discord. It is hilarious. Like we literally are, it's a constant text string between me, Rick, Mike, Jake, and like 35 other people during the course of a weekend. We talk NFL, betting. It's just a massive fun deal. So it's a great way to continue the conversation, ask questions, leave comments, leave funny memes. It's fantastic. And then, of course, like I
real quick,
earlier,
did you want to do a quick one and done at the end of our episodes at all, or do you care about that? Like,
did we do a one and done last week? I guess this is the first real tournament.
Yeah, first real tournament this week. If you wanna say who you would, if you were playing in a one and done, which I am, I'm playing in the Race to the Mayo Cup. I'm playing in another one that I'm in. Who would you, if this is the first week for those one and done contests? Who do you think you would lean it off with? The one thing I will say about one and done this year is that I would probably think about saving your studs for the elevated events, just because like the purse money is so much higher. This is not an elevated event, a normal week. So I don't know if you want to burn somebody like Tom Kim, who you could play at a bigger event, who he has more of a chance of winning. But for me this week, it's probably going to be somewhere like Corey Connors or Brian Harmon or somebody like that.
Yeah, the four guys really that I would use here: Harmon, Henley, Connors, or Hoagie. Those would be the four guys that I would throw out to win this event.
Yeah, I think any of those guys in the 9K range is a pretty decent pick for a one and done this week. I don't think you want to burn Kim or Im or Spieth or somebody like that this week, because you might want to save them for like a tournament that has a bigger purse that you feel like they could win in a better field. So yeah, I think for me this week it's going to be one of those guys in like the 9K range that for one and done.
Yeah, the other guy that I might throw out, but it really depends, because I think for me I'd save him just because I do think he's that next guy is Montgomery. Like I think Montgomery probably easily finishes top 10 this week, so he's kind of a safe like high floor, low ceiling guy.
I feel like Montgomery I feel like there's going to be an event this year where it's going to be a trash field and Montgomery's going to be like at the very top of the board that you can use him for one and done. So I don't think I'd use him this week. I'd wait for him.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Hoagie, Henley, Connors, and Harmon. One of those four guys I think is the play this week. And they're probably going to be the most popular selections this week because of all the things that we talked about. But I like one of those four guys.
All right, cool.
Well, that's going to do it for us. Like I said, make sure that you leave a comment, subscribe. Tons of great content all the way through the NFL playoffs and, of course, through the golf season. We appreciate your time tonight for jumping in early or watching this after the fact. Rick, I will see you later this week, and we'll tee it up, man. Have a great night.
Yep, go Ravens.